I have a classic touch IC repair here, gray bars and everything. I'm just going to do my thing. You've seen this a bunch of times already. What I do is cut a piece of Kapton tape. I use a 1-inch Kapton and just cut a rectangle around it. Just make sure there's I can get proper airflow all around it, so don't cut it too close. I got my heat gun set at 450 degrees Celsius, and takes about a minute and a half to come up. So I'm just going to heat this puppy, and hopefully I don't disturb anything. Hopefully I don't rip any pads. If you want, you can put a heat sink around here to the left side of it on the Wi-Fi chip. That'll help prevent some other damage. So just sit tight until the solder breaks free, and this should be pretty easy to lift. Don't force it, don't pull up until it is hot enough. The solder has to go to liquid. There it goes. Top right, heat a little extra down there because that's the pad that always pulls. And we are off. So what I normally do next is put some flux on it. A good chunk of flux on it. I get my FM2027 with BC1 tip. Get some 6337 Kester solder, and tin my tip there, and just get a nice little ball of leaded solder, yeah. And just make sure like you get everything that's kind of oxidized. You see that right there? That's oxidized pretty much. So you just want to make sure that the solder makes a good connection with that, okay? And try not to touch anything else, man. I mean, don't disturb any of the other components. Otherwise, you're going to spend some time trying to fix them. Time that you can be spending doing something else. Sometimes I wonder if, okay, like that's oxidized right there, right? I put some solder on it, but I mean, is it really on it? You know what I'm saying? So that's NC right there, no big deal. Because when we get returns, I don't know what the reasoning is for the returns. You know, like that's oxidized right there. Okay, so I'm gonna deoxidize it. I mean, is it good though? So that's about all I do right there, and then clean it. Clean it with isopropyl alcohol. Dry it up with the dry side. And then let's get the rest of the solder off here, okay? Because we want some nice clean joints. We don't want any poo-poo shit. Let me cut my solder wick here. Give me a nice little clean thing of solder wick. And this is how I do it, right here, like this. Just kind of go like that. If you're worried about pulling pads, this is the way you do it. Get your hot tweezers and do it like this. Nice even pads here. That's NC as well. Don't need to worry about that. So I think that's it, really. So just kind of like that, alright? Just make sure all the pads are nice and even. And we are good. So let's clean this up one more time. Make sure it's nice and even. Make sure you get all the brown flux off. Get all the lint away. That's about as good as it gets right there, okay? So let's get our new chip out. That looks kind of black there, isn't it? Like, does that look a little black to you? No, it's shiny. Okay. Okay, that looks good. So let's get our new Meson out. Hopefully this is a one stopper, meaning I don't have to do it like about 20 times. So this is my new Meson chip, which I get from AliExpress.com. You can buy 10 of them for about 20 something bucks, a little over $2 per. Sometimes you end up spending, using like 4 or 5 of these puppies on one repair. So that kind of sucks, but just make sure the dot is always goes to the lower right if you're looking at it from my side here. All right, so what you want to do is make sure this thing is aligned before you start heating. Otherwise, so what you can do is look at the corner here. That's the last dot. Corner here, last dot. Just make sure it's kind of in the center of it, and then kind of go this way too. So about like that. All right, just like that. So heat slowly, okay? Let's get your penny heat sinks again, and just kind of melt a little bit of it because I think I put a little too much flux on there. It's no big deal, but okay, so that moved again real quick. So it's just like that, okay. I think that's pretty good right there. All right. So, yep. I'm gonna zoom out a little bit, focus a little bit. Dang it. Focus a little bit. Okay, now it's focused. And then just go. Just kind of let it do its own thing, really. It'll seat itself once it melts, okay? Again, it'll take probably about a minute or so. Maybe a little less, about a minute or so. That's kind of what you're shooting for. So I think we're good here. Let's just... I mean, that was pretty hot there, so... Oops. Okay. So let's just kind of unhinge it and let's take a look. See if we can see anything. Alright, so let's see if we can see anything here. Can't see a whole lot there. Can't see a whole lot there either, to be honest with you. Let's do one more thing. I can't really see a whole lot of anything, to be honest with you. Only way to do it is really test it. Yeah, it looks pretty good. So let's clean it up a little bit with some IPA, and then let's plug it in and test it. And then if that works, I'm gonna replace Meson this time too, just because I had a few returns lately, and I didn't replace Cumulus. So let me get my Kim wipe, my Kimtech Kim wipe, my little brush, and I'm gonna brush it. I'm going to pause it for a second. So this is the final result right there. Alright, I got everything set up here. I'm going to plug it in for the first time. Got the battery symbol, and it should come up in 2 seconds, and then we will test the touch. Alright. There we go. Let me just look at it this way and do a test, and then I'll show you guys, because I don't want to. This is some guy's phone. I don't want his personal stuff showing up or anything. So it looks like it's going fine. I felt like I had a little bit of ghost touching there for a second, but alright, so let's see. Drag an icon. Can you see it? Drag an icon. Drag an icon is all good. So that is pretty much good. So we're good. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna replace Cumulus right now. Okay, I know Meson's good, so I don't have to muck with that. I'm gonna replace Cumulus, make sure it works again after that, and you know what? I'll do it on here. I'm gonna pause. Alright, put some Kapton tape around Cumulus, and now I'm gonna take this puppy off and replace it. Okay, I know Cumulus works, so Meson works. I know the big black chip works, so I don't need to muck with that. So I always like doing one chip at a time. Otherwise, it's gonna cause you some grief, because you're gonna keep going back and forth with chips and shit like that. This way, I know Meson I know Meson works right now, so I'm just gonna leave that be. Matter of fact, I'm gonna put heatsink over it so that it doesn't jack anything up. This one should take a little bit shorter because it's already been heated when I replaced the other chip. So I'm thinking maybe like a little bit, around a minute or so. Maybe it's taking a little bit longer. There he goes. You should be able to feel it melt, okay? Once it melts, then you can kind of start wiggling it around. Don't lift. Wiggle it around, and then once it's fully melted, you can lift, okay? Otherwise, if you lift too soon, you're gonna pull a pad, and then you're gonna be in trouble. So mix it up with leaded solder. Ooh, see, that sucks right there. So now I gotta spend a little bit of time removing that shit. That's why you want to be careful early. Otherwise, you're gonna spend time doing shit that is not related to the Touch IC repair. So, I'm being a little lazy here, because I should be cleaning this shit up right here. So I should be cleaning this up right here before I go. Is that I'm pretty sure 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep. Pretty much everything on this lower part right here is NC, so you don't really need to worry too much about pulling pads over here. These days, when I pull pads, it's usually an NC, almost always. Alright, so let's get this blobby mother effer out first. We can. See that? It's just a waste of time. You know, I could have not done that. I'd have been much happier if I didn't have to break that. I mean, whatever, it's like 2 seconds, but even still. Better if you be careful early than have to deal with that shit. Sometimes it takes like 20, 30 minutes to do something, like, especially these little things right there. They're a pain in the fucking ass. So that's NC as well. Alright, I think we're good there. Let's clean it up one more time. We're in pretty good shape here, okay? Just make sure there's no lint. And make sure it's pretty dry for the most part. Okay, we are good to go. So let's get a little bit of flux first. That's a lot of flux. Okay, and then get our Cumulus chip out. Down to my last few. What's going on? Okay. Alright. 2 of these puppies. There's my chip right here. It looks pretty good. Make sure the dot is it's like back to back, so the letters are opposing. So I know that. So anyway, so this is same deal as the other chip. Just make sure it's aligned before you start. Don't do any crazy shit, okay? So just like that, let's get your heat sinks And then let's start melting. Alright. So that's pretty aligned right there. Pretty aligned. Sometimes this is like, this side is kind of pulled up a little bit, so I'm just going to make sure it's pushed down a little bit. It's pushed down. So we're good. So I'm just going to heat now. Let's get it up a little bit. And then just heat. There it goes. I think that's good now. I feel like sometimes it gets uneven on one side for some reason. Like this side I feel like sometimes it's higher. So I think that was good though, because I lifted it and placed it and it looked like it kind of just sat in place. So everything looks pretty good here. I didn't disturb anything. Let's see. So that is the finished product right there. So let me bring up my test frame and screen, and we'll go from there. All right. All right, you see that? Alright, so the moment of truth. The moment of truth. Oops. Alright, let me test it, because I can't really see it right now. So let me test it on my side. Oh, hold on a sec. I think I got a dead line here. Alright, I got one dead line, so I'm going to have to redo it, I think. Nope. It was actually, I don't know what it was, but it resolved itself. Okay, so here you go. Oops. It was deadline a second ago, but now it's good. So we are good. Alright, so we're going to call this a success, okay? So we are good to go here. What I'm going to do is just reassemble the phone, and then I am going to make sure the proximity sensor, Touch ID, all that stuff works, and then I'll send it back, okay? So 26 minutes, taking into account probably about 15 minutes to reassemble and test. So you're looking at about 45 minutes, and I charge about 125 for this service at this time. Alright, take care. Thanks for watching.